Okay, so what is your current occupation?
Okay, I'm a science coordinator at Banksia Park International High School, and I teach years 8 to 10 science and year 11 and 12 psychology.
Beautiful. And what was your finishing degree or degrees?
So I've got two. The first one was Bachelor of Applied Science, which was sports science, and then I did a Bachelor of Education.
Awesome. And what are your current views of employability in South Australia?
I think it's a bit of a nervous time in terms of employability. I think nationally the trend is that there are more jobs being made. I think we heavily rely on industry here, and given what I referred to as a nervous time, is it really, with a change of government, anything can happen, and obviously their intent is to increase employment rates. I think we are. There's no doubt that we're losing our best and brightest interstate. And that's possibly because they're more willing to be innovative. They're more willing to take chances. Have they got less to lose? Maybe because their economy's a bit possibly. But I would say it's a nervous time. Absolutely.
All right. Well, then, what do you believe about future employability rates for South Australian women?
I actually don't think it's any different. I don't quite get the whole gender gap. I've always worked in a job where there's never been a gender gap, so that doesn't mean that there isn't one. But I can only imagine that it's getting closer to the same. It's getting closer and closer to equal than it's ever before between men and women.
Yeah.
It very much depends on the field you're going in. Obviously, so but I think a lot of companies and businesses, and big businesses in particular, I think are trying to break down that gender gap more so than ever. So maybe it's potentially a little bit more favourable for a woman, but I couldn't imagine a woman wanting a job because it was more favourable and not wanting the job because they were the best at it.
That's true.
And I think it's fair that the best person gets the job, regardless of whose gender that is. So whether that encourages women to be better at what they're doing, who knows? But I think it will certainly be a better place if we're more equal in the workplace.
That is very true. I believe so as well. So in the future, I would like to be employed in something revolving around criminal psychology.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the employability rates for myself in this job will be?
So from a little bit that I know about it, and I know a little bit, it's a difficult it's a difficult field to go down because the system's very state based. So I sadly think you're in a state which is very punishment driven, rather than being in a state which is very positive reinforcement driven. So it's the age old operant conditioning thing where do we offer criminals of some sort a chance to redeem themselves or rehabilitate of some sort through a system that isn't just jail? That certainly takes place in other states. It doesn't take place here. We are in a very much in a punishment state, and it does nothing to help rehabilitate someone. I fear that that prison does nothing more than give people some time away from their crime, but it doesn't do anything to fix their crime. That could help you, given that there'd be more crime, or consistent with other crime, but what are you in it for? You know, are you in it for the crime, or are you in it to help people?
Help people.
And so, yeah, so I worry that your job prospects aren't here in South Australia. I worry that I think they're interstate. Hey, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think sometimes, but then I wouldn't be deterred from work. I think you've got to get a taste of both systems just to see what it's like. And you know what? Some people might believe the punishment system works, and obviously a lot of people do because that's why we've got one. But Victoria certainly have a very different approach to especially to things like drugs and with their drug courts and setups like that, which is a very, very different approach to what we do here.
Very nice. All right. Well, Then do you believe that the employability rates in this occupation for women will increase or will they decrease?
I just don't think they'll change here.
Just won't change
Yeah,
here?
I think, but unless we adopt the same principle as other states, which is clearly starting to work. If that's the case, then absolutely will increase. The opportunities will increase. But you're reliant on a government changing a system, which they're very reluctant to do, because that is effectively taking. They lose power by doing that, and they actually it's a big social change in terms of how they go about rehabilitating people. I think that's your best hope. Is that they look at other systems and other systems that are based on some element of positive reinforcement rather than punishment, and then absolutely it'll have to increase because they'll need more people to go through that process of rehabilitation with criminals.
Do you believe that the restrictions on genders in this occupation should be present or eradicated?
Are there restrictions?
Well, from what we have found on all our other research, there have been some restrictions, as females in this industry there aren't as many in the industry for one, and there is always the gender pay gap, which we've also researched.
So there is a gender pay gap in your field. Wow. I just don't get it. I just do not get it. I just don't. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. What can a woman not do that a man can't do? I definitely think that in a, I could be wrong for this, but women and men can deal with certain situations differently.
Yeah.
And may come and therefore to either's advantage or detriment. But that shouldn't require a different pay gap.
I mean, everyone thinks differently and reacts to situations differently.
And that's not a gender thing. I would hope that they would be. I would hope there were no restrictions going down the track. Absolutely.
Same here.
Yeah, and whether. Yeah, certainly.
All right. Well, thank you for
that. No worries.
that.
Hey, I'm gonna give you a number of someone. Do you remember Astrid who came and spoke to us?
Yes.